Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today we have something different. Every week we've been doing a deep dive into Manchurian Candidate and government mind control and drone-based mind control with our good friend Hans Utter and our guest William Ramsey. And Hans, would you like to say hello to your audience as well for the Resonant State?
Yes, hello, Resonant State listeners. Welcome to a rather dark exploration of a very interesting. Well, interesting is maybe the wrong word, but
Yeah.
but just part of. Regrettably, we have to come to terms with the realities of these things in order to free ourselves from them. So here we are, and so you know, I think this ties it together with the mind control, with the hypnosis induction, with the Manchurian Candidate stuff, with culture production, and everything kind of, and then with of course the program to kill stuff too. And this, I think, this is a kind of everything comes together in this. Would you agree, William?
I would. I think it's true. I think it overlaps, and I think that this is super dark. It's a good Halloween episode, but there's a lot in here to unpack, and a lot of the two-sided things too, where there's a lot going on underneath the surface behind a church facade, right? So that's what we're going to talk about is the Hosanna church scandal that influenced Nick Pizzolatto, the writer of True Detective, which for me, True Detective is really one of the best series ever made, and it's there's a lot in there to unpack. It's very very well written and acted and produced. But this is going to be the story that it was based upon. It happened in 2005, kind of in southern Louisiana, Ponchatoula. But it's a real story, like it's a true story. Vice went out and did a 20-minute thing, which you can watch part of it. There's court cases, there's testimony, there's police who were there, there's evidence lockers, and it's super dark. And it's a network. It's a group of people involving a pastor's son who became the pastor, and then police as well.
So we want to give a little warning for people who are sensitive. Normally, I don't say that on my show. My show is pretty brutal to the listeners. You guys have been through a lot. But for Hans's audience and William's audience as well, we just want to warn you. This is going to be some pretty graphic and brutal topic material. Um, so also, there's more than just this one, right? I just wanted to say before we start, like, there's this other one in Utah where there was a government official, I forget what his title was, but he came out of the blue and just said, "We don't eat children, we don't kill children or abuse them," and everybody's like, "Whoa, what, huh?" And then everybody's find out he connected to this, and he actually, like, I think he moved out of the state. He's like out of there now, trying to run away. And the main guy who was charged, he's free. They let him. They didn't charge him, or they were trying to prosecute him, and then the prosecutor like quit or something, and then they couldn't find a different prosecutor. So it's just like, oh, okay, and it's nobody hears from it. It's just gone. I guess. I guess I have to look into that again, but that case in Utah was just last year or whatever, and so these are happening now, and it's clandestine. We don't know, we don't see them happening, but they are like all over America and the rest of the world. So just wanted to say that before we get started.
And for those who are a little bit long in the tooth, maybe the wrong word, but the milk cartons, right? You have to have the milk cartons of all the missing kids that suddenly disappeared. Statistics are not kept, right? There are no actual statistics, and then we also have the whole massive importation. The human trafficking networks coming through the cartels are very powerful because basically, for these drug cartels, it's much, you sell your whatever, your crack, your rock of crack, or your kilo of cocaine. That's consumed product. You have a human trafficking, you can keep using that product until they die or until they just, whatever, they escape or whatever. But I mean, so it is, this is very directed and unfortunately very much aligned with it appears to be the ethos of the ruling class, or even the wannabe ruling class.
These stories come out. I mean, there was stories I remember of the DuPont heir who was raping his 30-year-old daughter, and they gave him they didn't put him in jail because they thought he wouldn't be able to survive in jail, running the state like that much power, so probably influencing things. In the Utah case that you're talking about, Sean, Derek Rose has covered that,
Yes.
and it's done a really good job. He's been on a couple other things, but the
Derek
guy
was
posted
awesome.
100,000 bail and disappeared. A therapist, so
Right.
guy, and I think there was hypnotism involved in that too, if I remember.
I actually, one of my past guests, man, I forget. She knew the perpetrator from like sweat lodges and like I don't know if it was ayahuasca or it was some sort of hallucinogen like San Pedro or something, where he would run these. And he was in South America or something. She was in circles with him, and she was stalked, and had her own problems with the cult. I forget her name. I wish I was prepared for that, but she's been a guest on my show as well. So like, yeah, so that dude, and there's many, and they are connected to the wider cult, like different. They will, when there's going to be an event, they will hire from other cults that are interconnected, like Carrie Olahi, a friend of mine, was like uh purchased for an evening by whatever cult to do what she was trained to do, in her, like, in her multiple personalities. The appropriate one would come up and do the job and then go and get paid. So like this yeah, like these cults are happening, and it is like they do it within the church bounds. We talked about that in the Manchurian Candidate episodes. We talked about how the churches have these reputation in the satanic panic, at least, in quotes, satanic panic, that churches were often a front facade for the illegal occult stuff going on. And also, like, if you think about it, in their rituals, these are sanctified places, that have been given the proper ceremonial whatever parameters to be a holy place, and when they do these acts against God, they're doing them in a place that's ordained to be holy. So that too, I think, has to be noted.
That's like increases the deviance, right? Because you're doing it in a church. And I did a show on Rex Uerman's uncle, who, and this is a recent case. This is a recent civil case, but he was sued for doing SRA type stuff in a church as a Protestant. So
Right.
it's not just some kind of Catholic thing or some kind of like
even the Amish, like there's Russ Dizdar was investigating Amish sects that were doing SRA on there, because of the seclusion and the separation that the Amish have. It's easy to have secrets there, and there's no cameras and shit recording. So like they're everywhere. Even the Amish, like all the Christians and Catholics, like all that stuff too.
But I would say that, yes, you have a whole stream of utopianism, right? Especially in the 19th century United States. There's even a place, it's called Utopia, Ohio, right? And there was a guy there, this French guy who believed like everything is sex energy, sexual energy, free love. The whole society is powered by, what it kind of failed. Utopia, Ohio is still there, but the thing is that this injection of these type of abusive cultic networks, right? You've got larger scale organizations, theosophy, or you have various whatever, but I think this is another outgrowth of the 60s, because you have Aldous Huxley coming in, setting up these lodges, right, in the West Coast, setting this stuff up, which these lodges sort of became sort of some of the founding governance, right, for the counterculture movement. And within the countercultural movement, you have the commune idea, you've got Manson, you've got Process Church, you've got hundreds of these cults, and many of them are coming out of this ethos, right? And so I'm just wondering, or just positing, that this infiltration, right, and this really dark stuff, it's almost like they opened a doorway to it, right? And part of it, it's based on, you want to be a good person, right? I'm a good person. I care about, I care about migrants that will, hold me hostage in my basement and cut me in pieces, and I won't admit. I'll still be apologizing for the friggin' psycho, you know, whoever she's from, in Germany, because I'm that beat down in my brain. They're in the sunken place. We were talking about the sunken place, right? So that sunken place, I think there's one level of the multiple, the DID, but there's also that where referring to, I think this is from the pre-show, we're talking about the Jordan Peele movie Get Out. And so the sunken place is where there's like a hypnotic induction, but I think that's also equivalent to when you start crossing boundaries or thresholds, right? You start transgressing, if it feels good, do it. Oh, if I repress my sexuality, it's like against nature. I have to just, freak out, not me personally, right? But I'm saying, like, this thing, you see, how do people get to that point of, like, this pastor we're going to talk about? How's this level of infiltration? And do we see that prior to the cultural transformation in the 1960s? I would say no way on this scale, nowhere near this scale.
I agree. I don't recall seeing it in studies like that SRA really existed until the 50s or 60s. I haven't come across stories, maybe, Salem or something like that, or witch stories here and there, but nothing like the kind of organization we see in this story, which is like 8 people, cops, the head of a church. I mean, it's super dark.
Right.
Do you want?
Would you give a little overview of what this particular incident is all about?
Yeah, so like I said, it's in Ponchatoula, which is north of the New Orleans in Louisiana, and it was in 2005, and it was the son of the former pastor. He had a successful church, and I think it was called Hosanna Church, right? So it's known as the Hosanna Church scandal. But the son took it over after his father passed away, and then, like, things went south. And what happened was, there was a story. I think somebody came to the cops and said he was being abused. It turned out to be one of uh, LaMonica's sons. And then LaMonica confessed. He confessed to the cops and told his whole story. And then they arrested him, and then they started arresting people around him. And then there was a retraction. Then there was a court case, and then there was a conviction. And so there is a trial record and the record of the appeal. So the appeal, we can read through the appeal because it does have factual information in it. But what I have up on the screen right now is the kind of story from Daily Mail from the UK that covers it. But here it is. Like, I can just read the intro paragraph. At 1:15 p.m. on May 16th, 2005, Pastor Louis LaMonica strolled into Detective Stan Carpenter's office in Livingston, Louisiana, and made his confession. What he had to say floored the detective. The pastor of Hosanna Church in nearby Hammond claimed he had performed satanic rituals, child abuse, and animal sacrifice in the church, and that he was not alone. He named his fellow perpetrators, and he named their child victims. It marked the beginning of the Hosanna Church scandal and exposed a vicious pedophile ring in a case whose shockwaves reverberate in LaMonica's former parish of Tangipahoa to this day. So these people all have their mugshots right here. There it is. Louis LaMonica, his wife Robin, known as the Lady, which is a strange name, like Scarlet Woman or something like that. She made sure stuff goes right. Then Austin Trey Bernard, known as the mastermind of the cult, used his 1-year-old daughter in a sick ritual. A cat was killed and its blood was spilled on the child. His wife, so these are like married people. His wife Nicole called the sheriff to spill the beans on the cult. Just 2 days before LaMonica made his confession, she was charged with 2 counts of aggravated rape, but charges were dismissed.
So that's killing of the cat and spilling of the blood is, I mean, that's common with SRA victims. They will give them a pet and then make them fall in love with the pet and then kill the pet in front of them as a trauma. It's like, that's just textbook right there.
That's like what they do supposedly in the process too, is they give them a dog, and this supposedly goes all the way back to the SS and Hitler. You would give them, make them as ruthless as possible, is to give them a German Shepherd and then raise it and then kill it on command. Like inure you to the violence, yeah.
That's more evidence of the proof that Mengele was doing SRA, and that what Russ was saying about Dizdar was saying about how the Nazis were refining the SRA techniques, and only makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. We know they're doing rituals. We know Wewelsburg Castle and the Black Sun and all that stuff.
Right.
So they ritualize their political party.
The castle is shaped like the symbol of Tanit, the goddess that they would that Carthage would sacrifice their babies to.
But don't forget about the Soviet Union, right? So we have the ritual murder of the Tsar. There's that Juri Lina is that thing, all the Masonic ties into that, all the occult stuff, the way the churches were destroyed and sacrileged, even going back to the French Revolution, you have this type of satanic blasphemy, mind control stuff. You know what I mean? So I think this stuff, these are like major, we're talking about collapse of a whole society. Right. So the one thing to note, though, is that these types of things, when you have sort of a takeover, you have the Illuminati, actually, which was, of course, a real organization, very much real. Right. And people, obviously, the Illuminati stole my mail. But I think PayPal is Illuminati. They stole my money again. but that being said, we have what I'm trying to say is we talked about Gilles de Rais. You have these high level people that are involved. You have like say the French Revolution. You have the stuff going on in the Soviet Union where you have an occultic elite that's doing sacrifice, right? That's able to experiment. And I would say that some of these things now maybe taken on later by the Nazis, but I think that a lot of the real development was because that was a free reign. You could do you do whatever you want. They could do whatever they wanted, right? And they had all these prisons, these mass. So but the scientific development of this, right? You're following the principles of a scientific methodology, all right? And then you're infiltrating these just as the revolutionary ideas, right, of the Illuminati promoting these ideas that they're like infectious, right? These thought forms, these conceptual models become like infections that destroy everything. Bakunin, the anarchist, let's destroy the world. So this is okay. No offense. Oh my God, he's wearing
I'm just smiling. It's all good.
But no, Bakunin, right? So Bakunin, he said, "I love destruction. I love chaos. I love, this, And then you have the whole thing, where you revel in this tearing down, right? But now we have you could say we have a functioning society to a certain extent, but yet these models and ideas and the scientific development of these types of things, right? And in that, it's like this guy is not rediscovering this stuff himself, this pastor, right? He is getting this, A, he has the moral compass where he feels it's okay to engage in, but B, he's not in making this, you know what I mean? It's not like he's just doing it on his own, right? He's getting some type of information feed on how to run these operations. So we really have a large scale interpenetration of these networks. Would you not agree with scientific? So scientific meaning experimental hypothesis. Here's the input. Here's the output. We're going to get, you know what I mean? Just like you know what I mean? It's not random. It's very, it's very clearly delineated what results you get. Like I'm just referencing the cat. And,
Yeah, and this one's really disturbing. Like, I don't know how much they got everybody or how many people went to jail. I know LaMonica did, but there's a lot of people involved, like, according to the cops. This is not we're going to get to the court case. It's really something else, but like, they're operating for quite a while. I think they were operating for at least 5 years. So, and this guy's, the allegation is that these people are abusing their children, like the worst kind of way. There's pictures drawn, and in the Vice video, they said they didn't want to show the pictures that were drawn for the court because they were too graphic, which, saying something. But
So-
you're talking about Bakunin and nihilism, and that's kind of like one of the big intros and the interesting philosophical stuff that takes place with Rust Cole McConaughey's character is his nihilistic,
right.
this kind of destroy everything, the world's a mistake view, which actually ties into Thomas Ligotti. It's the literal OTO connected.
Dude,
guy
Thomas
with-
Ligotti is that's like, because I do read whatever, but that guy's so negative, man.
Oh, incredible.
He's horribly negative, dude.
Conspiracy Against the Human Race is his book.
God.
And I'm not saying that Pizzolatto is a plagiarist. The similarities between some of the stuff in Ligotti's book and in the statements made by the character by Russ Cole in True Detective are very, very similar. They're like, they certainly rhyme, but we can go into that when we get there. But it is interesting that you bring up this kind of anarchic nihilism, stuff like that, because it plays into this. In the True Detective, it kind of gets resolved in a way, because what he's really bitter about is his daughter died. He wants his daughter back. And that whole arc is I'm ruining the show, but the arc of his investigation is like to search for evil in the world, but he's missing a family member. He wants his family member back, and that's why he goes through all that pain and suffering. But it's a great show. I highly recommend True Detective. Marty Hart, Russ Cole, played by Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey, and cover a string of ritualistic satanic murders committed under the cover of a powerful evangelical establishment in South Louisiana. So it's like this thing, like a lot of these churches are connected too, like you guys know, the Catholic Church or Protestant, whatever denomination you are. I don't know if they went into the Hosanna churches connections, but I think it was part of like the Universal Life Church or something, which, looking into that's basically what's going on in True Detective too. Now, for the first time, Mail Online has seen the full shocking confession that fired the starting pistol on the most notorious scandal in recent church history, reviewed hundreds of pages of LaMonica's own writing, and spoken to the officer who took the pastor's confession that day. Major Carpenter recalled, LaMonica walked into my office and sat down just as calm as you and me talking now. I was detective supervisor at the time. When he came in, he basically thought that after he told us what he did, he was just going to go on about his business of the day, which is really strange. Like, you don't know the seriousness of your actions. Like, that's kind of a tell. Listening to him here, where we're all Christian, it kind of floored me. You're talking about a man who professes to be a preacher, a pastor, and a church leader, abusing children and worshiping Satan. I'm an old guy. I'm coming up to retire in a couple of years. I thought I'd seen it all, and sometimes I reckon you have seen it all, only in different ways. Then something like this happens. It stays with you. In his confession seen by Mail Online, LaMonica sat down and announced, I want to talk about the dedication to Satan of a baby. It was held at the church upstairs in what was called the youth room. He went on to describe a room where all the windows were covered in black, like black paper, keep it dark. There was a pentagram in the middle of the floor, he said, in a book of spells and temptations. On this occasion, he claimed there were 5 others present. Austin Trey Bernard, then 36, LaMonica's wife, Robin, 45, church member Paul Fontenot, 21, sheriff's deputy Chris Labatt, 24, and Trish Pearson, 56. All but Labatt later pleaded guilty to charges, so they all pled guilty to charges from aggravated rape to sexual battery to obstruction of justice. Labatt was charged with child pornography, but subsequently the charges were dismissed. So we can go into detail. Do you want me to continue reading? Like,
aren't the charges always dismissed? Like, what the hell, man? Like, I go ahead, Hans.
I don't want to jump ahead, but it's always like you look at it, it's the etiology, right? The origin of it. So if maybe we'll come to this, but how did the pastor, what was the organizing principle for him? Did he just become a Satanist overnight, or was he always like that? Did he get it from his father? I mean, is there I don't know if there are answers to that.
That would be interesting. It would make sense. A lot of this stuff is intergenerational. So I don't recall reading through the literature where he said where it started. Like, how does it start off? I don't know.
You'd probably want to look into his family and a lot of times the people are raised with both a Christian front altar and a satanic internal altar, who actually takes over at a certain point in their life where they have a certain ritual where um, the consciousness is subsumed by the evil one. But they have to make a conscious, willing choice to be part of the cult. But they've been trained their whole life, like, the only way to have power or to be like, to live well is to enslave others. Like they've been trained into this idea. So a lot of them, plus they were conditioned into it with the trauma-based mind control. But that there are two personalities most of the time that are like, they will call out the evil one for the rituals and then put the evil consciousness away, and then have the Christian one pop out in the front personality of day-to-day life, like day man, night man type of thing.
This is crazy. They had a spell book. There's like homosexual stuff, and then there's gender bending. Like this thing had it all behind the church. LaMonica stated they would start off like a church service. I mean, it's incredible. So like the transgressive elements start off like a church service, but it was satanic music. There were candles burning, dark red candle holders, and the dedication of a baby into Satan with his pentagram. She was put in the middle in a black dress. He described chanting around the child, Trey Bernard's daughter, barely 1 year old at the time, before killing a cat, draining its blood and drinking it, each drinking it. He claimed that they did not make the children drink because she was too young, and instead took off her dress and sprinkled the blood over her. These meetings, according to LaMonica, took place every 2 or 3 to 3 months. This puts like the satanic panic to rest. Like whoever talks about satanic panic is a bunch of baloney, because this stuff has happened. I have so many records of it. I was
gonna say, but they'll come at you with like, oh, well, the original confession wasn't taped, so maybe it's not true. I don't know.
This one, they have the tape of his confession. They taped it. It's in their files.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So we can actually, I think that they actually have audio of it in the Vice video, which you can get to.
Oh, okay. I must have read wrong. I didn't understand.
I just want to call attention to that. The counter movement, right, in the sort of the cultural dream world we inhabit, right? The culture is like an externalized dreamscape, right? It's like it's your mythos, it's your invisible framing, right? And so we have both like all these Revelation of the Method movies promoting and showing, like that movie Him, right, that just came out, another I guess produced by Jordan Peele, but that movie is just a straight ritual, also a ritual for the audience watching it, and in ritual induction. At the same time, all this stuff coming out, satanic panic was fake. They're still pushing that. As I brought up, I mean, this whole thing, and so it's still the same model, right? In a sense, you deny it, denying that it's happening, but yet promoting it, and then showing. How about like Lil Nas, right? That the rapper dude, he had a freak out. He was walking around in his underwear in L.A. You hear about that, with like a sword recently? Yeah, he just had one of his little conditioning. But these guys, I mean, the thing is, I don't get, like, does anything really, you're gonna worship Satan? Anything really good come out of that? It's like, what do you? I mean, what the hell do you think is gonna happen? Is this gonna make you happy? Is this? Unless maybe you're like Bill Gates or something at the top of the lizard people, top of the pyramid, But no, you know what I mean? I'm saying is like, but yet it is cool, right? And you discussed also like people, practicing, stuff, getting into Wicca, getting into these things without, basically with a materialistic mindset, but also with this fundamental core of nihilistic thing. There is no good, there is no evil. It's just action. Good and evil are the same thing. It's really about me and what can I get and how can I max out my life.
But that's like solipsism, really, in the end. Like, isn't it just like, if it's all about me and no one really matters, and you can just like deperson others to the point where it's only my world and my perceptions, that's, if you look into LaVeyan Satanism, that's one of the things that they impose on the culture intentionally. And it's a sin for them in the cult to actually fall for solipsism. They recognize the reality, but they impose solipsism on the culture on purpose. Like the whole, the New Age movement was all them. You know, it was all Levian Satanists, you know, pushing this, you know, self-help crap, you know, and yoga and all that
Wow.
stuff.
So the idea that everything's a computer simulation, right? Oh, it's a computer
Yes,
simulation.
yeah.
You know, walk in front of a bus, see what happens.
Yeah, go listen to the first episode of True Detective where Rust Cole's talking. It's all this stuff. It's all a mistake. The world's a mistake. We're all accidents.
Right.
Why are we going through this pain? You know, it's like he's just philosophical. He's like talking Ligotti. Uh, you know,
And
it's
it kind of goes along with the Gnosticism, that whole, you know, the Gnosticism current that runs through the occult of like the, you know, the Lord of this world was, you know, created as a prison for our souls, like, you know, and it's not the true God of creation, like all that whole.
the demi-urge or whatever it is.
Yes,
Isn't that
yeah,
what it
yep,
is?
yep.
Yeah, it's something like
There it
that.
goes, and that's the perfect that painting, the Goya's painting, right? Saturn
Oh,
devours his young.
oh man, that
That
scared
is
my kids so much.
that painting is that is really that's your Einsahoff, right? Your God in Kabbalah,
Chaos, total
you know?
chaos,
Yeah,
right?
and that's the now we can say does it are we do most people experience the real world around them? No. Most people are living in a program type of matrix, right? Because their consciousness is imprisoned, you know,
It's in
in
the Tesseract, right?
it's in the
They're
yeah.
in the Tesseract.
But does that mean that there is no existing world out there? As soon as you, it's like talking about that the place, right? Whatever it is, a sunken place.
Sunken
It
place, right?
you let go. It's like Ligotti, man. Because I will say there are some I think direct quotes. They took direct quotes from Ligotti in that True Detective. I guarantee
Very
you.
close. I'll state some right here in a
Yeah,
second.
but basically, as soon as you get this, okay, wait, this world is not what I think it is. Oh, you have a lot of power of your mind to shape reality for sure, but as soon as you let go and say I don't care about anything else, there's no good, those are evil, you're just poof, you're falling back. You just let go. Let go, but let go into what, man? Let go into the Saturn devouring us young, man.
Right. And that's the key. The true care is the key to like everything. And once care is removed, then the Satanism can take hold. I mean, once people don't care about others, then they can, you know, put cat blood on their daughter and whatever else, you know, maybe they are convinced
It's
to
the
do.
predicate, right? It's what
Right.
happens before, and then you're there. It's the total nihilism. Who cares? Let's do this and see what happens. These are like things people found similarities between McConaughey's statement in True Detective and Ligotti. I think human consciousness is a tragic misstep in evolution. So there's the evolutionary mind view, worldview, and Ligotti. Human existence is a tragedy that need not have been were it not for the intervention in our lives of a single calamitous event, the evolution of consciousness, the parent of all horrors. So it's like super nihilism on steroids and meth or something, like crazy stuff. Here it is. Cole, the honorable thing for our species is to deny our programming, stop reproducing, and walk hand in hand into extinction. Like it's anti-natalist too, right? Like it's the worst kind of stuff. And then the Gotti writes, the human race will never do the honorable thing and abort itself. To end this self-deception, we must cease reproducing. And that's the whole vibe of our whole culture is like an anti-reproduction. Like it's not pro-life. And not even in the sense of abortion, but just like pro-existence, right? Schopenhauer and all these guys. Like Hitler read Schopenhauer. Like when he was in the trenches, imagine reading like Schopenhauer in the truths, an anti-natalist philosopher in the trenches of World War One, where bombs are going off and people's arms and legs are being blown off. Like you want to talk about traumatic mind control. That's why Hitler went insane after World War One. Like it wasn't even just the environment; it was the stuff he was reading. The coming out of that. Here's another one. Cole, I think about the hubris it must take to yank a soul out of non-existence into this meat. So you're just a programmed, biosuit. Force a life into this thresher. And then the Gotti wrote, whatever else we may be as creatures that go to and fro on the earth and walk up and down upon it, we are meat. Why should generations unborn be spared entry into the human thresher?
Dude, see, that is once you like it's more difficult to say, I'm suffering now. I'm going to try to get through this suffering. And I know there's something better than this. I'm going to allow healing. I'm going to go to a higher place. I'm going to connect with the world. I'm going to try to make a positive impact, whatever. That's more difficult. You go into this nihilism and negativity. It's not even a hop. It's a hop, skip, and a jump into friggin' pouring cat blood on your daughter. I mean, literally, this is the foundation, the foundational of this. And, I had to say, like, you look at Wagner also, with this whole idea of sensation, pure sensation, this intoxication, right? And so then, and Schopenhauer, Schopenhauer is this supreme pessimism. And just because you feel you're in a meat suit, Legati, I mean, I think it's pretty amazing. It's like, wow, look.
Yeah, he's extrapolating that to everybody, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You may have incredible. Maybe this guy's having a great time. He plays golf all day and drinks 2 martinis at night, and he's happy as a clam. Who knows? I don't know. But it's like the pessimism is like everybody else should be negative and pessimistic too. Legati was in. There's evidence that I found that he was in a band called Current 93, and Sean should know exactly what that means. But this is like it's like a band of all like occultists, basically.
I was just gonna bring up Crowley and his Beast Man, the way that 93 relates to Crowley and all the Thelema stuff. But Crowley would, like, he wanted to be the beast, right? And the beast is the highest self, is to do what thou wilt. To him is to be the beast, and the carnal desires of, the not consciousness, the beast within, he would exalt that as the best. And also all this talk of meat, I just want to remind people that Goya's painting, he's devouring his son, like he's cannibalizing his own young, and that relates to our society itself. Like, I mean, it is chaos, and we feed our own young to the Moloch fires. Just want people to think about that.
Here's Thomas Legati. The guy's quoted pretty much. I would say he's referenced. I'm not saying he's plagiarized. Just want to make that clear. But there's very close parallels between Legati and True Detective. But here he is on Current 93 playing on this degenerate little town. But if you go back and look at all these characters who are in this thing, like literally John Balance, whose buddy was Peter Christopherson. I've done a lot of work on that. And then this guy, who's the head, his name is William Breeze, is the head of the OTO at one point, and the Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica. And then I forgot what this guy at the top is. Oh, David Tibet. These guys are all around like Genesis P-Org and stuff like that. So Legati, I think you can firmly put him kind of within the context of this group, because there also is references like, I don't know, 1997, Limited CD accompanied Thomas Legati book of the same name. So they seem to be influenced by Legati, but it says here that Legati's playing music on this degenerate little town, Thomas Legati. Anyway,
he's obviously in a lot of their projects, but one thing, just to maybe going back to what I said in the beginning, is that there's a book called Light Bearers of Darkness, right? It's written in the 1920s, but this is about all these different occultic organizations, someone who's very high in them, and basically stating that they become broken down, and then they're food, they're fodder. Only the very top people, they're feeding off of all these other people. You know what I mean? They're feeding off, and they punctured the personality, and they used basically called etheric channels of communication. So they think they're getting the vision of some god or some, illuminated master. That's actually a human being that's using the etheric channel, etheric network, right? And so this is stuff that was talked about, and ether is, that's a free energy, right? Ether, Einstein got rid of ether, but ether is there. All the Tesla stuff, but most of these people that are involved are being fed off of for those higher up, right? And someone like Legati, though, like, what if someone is depressed and, people don't have that level of discernment? You can easily be led into these very dark pathways. You know what I mean? And then suddenly you're not responsible for your actions. Oh, I can just be a miserable, stew in my own, oil, hatch eggs in my, you know what I mean? And just, I don't know. I think it's very irresponsible to put that kind of material.
Don't you
out.
think it's a long path? Like they're slowly negative, they get bitter about something, then they become nihilistic, and then you start experimenting with other things because you don't care anymore, and then you're in a you're in a church doing satanic rituals or something. It doesn't happen like that's not something like somebody's like, oh, should go get some ice cream and then do a satanic ritual or something. It's like it has to be some kind of progression. This is the conspiracy against the human race. Look, God, if you want to have a bad day, read this. It's like it's rough. It's hard to get through. I tried to read the whole thing.
Would you like to have a beer with Thomas Legati?
No.
If you want to quit drinking, I would.
Yeah, really.
Dude. I mean, like you're. I'm like a meat sack. Well, that's your opinion, and you're. Okay, I'm trying not to swear. You're a fucking idiot, and I but yet this stuff he's promoted as a literary genius, right? Considered one of the literary horror kings of horror fiction.
Yeah, he's written a lot of other books. I forgot his whole corpus or whatever. Thomas. He's famous for some other book. I forgot the name of it. He's still alive. 72 from Detroit. He said he suffered from anhedonia his whole life. Reduced motivation or ability to experience pleasure.
Huh.
I think it's Nightmare Factory or Foreign Town in a Foreign Land maybe is the one. I don't know. Teatro Grotesco. Conspiracy Against the Human Race is his only nonfiction book, supposed nonfiction.
This comment that's on the screen right now, the DuPont heir was cut loose by Beau Biden when he was Attorney General of Delaware. This misbehaving Irishman should look into Jay Parker, who is from Arden, Delaware, who was abused, SRA abused in a ritual family that's generational. It's like his mom was like 13 generations of like some crazy cults. And he talks about how his mother was the programmer of the DuPont heir who went crazy and murdered. That was latent programming that she layered in when he was young.
Wow,
and
the guy who killed the wrestler, right, at his house.
Yes,
that was weird. Yeah,
she was hired by his other family members because he was going to get the inheritance, and they wanted the inheritance. If he goes to jail, then they can have it. So like they implanted that to fruit out at a certain age, and it did. Like she successfully programmed him. People should look into Jay Parker. Yeah,
that family's weird. DuPont family pretty much runs Delaware, apparently. So like
right.
the Bidens probably serve at their pleasure in a way.
Right. Jay talks about Biden, and he says that Arden, Delaware, was like built for the cult. Like the whole place is mainly cult. It's like 80-90% members of the cult, and they like have lawns where there's no trees and you can see far away in case any cars are coming. Like it's the whole thing is like built for clandestine.
There's so many of those stories. What's the story about the tobacco family where like they were doing
Reynolds?
What was it?
Reynolds,
yeah, that's one of them. But I thought there was another. Was the Duke woman, the Duke heiress or whatever? Like the father would like just do like satanic rituals with her or something like that. Really, I mean, right. It's unbelievable. But you start reading this, you start seeing similarities between all this. I did a show with a guy Curcio who said the Rockefellers had an occult ritual room. They had a downstairs room with all the statuaries and all the creepy stuff. It makes perfect sense when you look at what the buildings they did. That's the Twin Towers, which are two big, giant 110 stories, and then the UN building, which is a huge monolith. These are not mistakes. These are not mistakes, guys. Yeah. They're showing you through symbolism if you have the eyes to see. So you talk about being in the Tesseract or being in some kind of like controlled, occulted worldview. It's for sure. It's a lot of people are in there, man.
Just look at the memorial of that giant 11 that you're talking about. When they took those buildings, when they turned them to dust, they built this memorial, which is 2 black cubes that are sunken down into the ground. and there's this water is like flowing into the hole. It's like our tears and emotion is just like being swallowed up by these black cubes, and like the double square, the double cube is like the octagon of the tesseract, big symbol for them.
It's
Even
unbelievable.
David Icke talks about it.
But it all like it merges, right? You see, like, Peter Thiel's recent interview, right? Antichrist. But this immortality, what kind of immortality is that, dude? Right? Your
Right.
consciousness is kept alive in some, it's the brain in a vat, right? Going back to the brain in a vat, which basically the brain in a vat was the originally was the metaphor for complete mind control slave, right? You're just a brain in a vat. All external inputs are controlled. So, but that idea, is that really immortality? No, right?
It's a reanimator is what that
Yeah,
is.
but this mentality though is just, it's rife, right? And then you have the technocrats that, the technotronic control grid going back to Brzezinski in the early 70s, the technotronic, talking about technotronic control grid. All this stuff has been articulated in various forms going back to Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan, right? I mean, these conceptual models have been thought of, and now they're able to be implemented with technology. But I think that this undergirding philosophy that people accept as a matter of course, which ties into people, trauma. Oh, I'm a victim. You're a victim. Go read Legati. That guy's a
Right.
victim.
We are meat, right? It really does tie into the outlook of these mind controllers. The programmable animal and all that stuff, and programmable mind and cybernetics and all that. Here's another one. Coles describes humans as gene copying biorobots, mirroring Legati's gene copying biorobots living out here on a lonely planet in a cold and empty physical universe. Like the world has no meaning, the universe has no meaning. You're just a
Thomas, your life sucks, bro.
Yeah, no wonder you can't feel anything good. He's just super negative. Can you imagine hanging out with that guy? Hey, you want to
And
go get a beer? No, it sucks. Beer sucks.
But if you start even playing around with that idea space, you are very much setting yourself up to be a victim of hypnotic suggestion, mind control, right? You have just dropped your will. You've dropped your free agency, your freedom of action, your freedom of will, your freedom of discernment. You are losing that.
you're also losing your morality too. If nothing matters, then there is no morality too, right? So you can do whatever, do what thou will, right?
Do what thou wilt. Absolutely. 100%. Critics also noted borrowings from other authors like William S. Burroughs, who Burroughs wrote, "Death needs time for what it kills to grow in." And then Cole's line, "Death created time to grow the things that it would kill." So death just needs time to kill what's coming. Death is just time, just as a time waiting for death. It's
I
almost
mean,
like that. It's like the French philosophers, right? The kind of what's the one?
Nausea, Sartre.
Yeah, Sartre.
Nausea.
It's just a blip on the road to death.
Or Albert Camus,
Yeah,
who was
right.
he's a guy who had a sort of a moral code, but myth of Sisyphus and where he killed himself, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's easy
It's
enough to be depressed, man. It's
if we
harder.
were,
Just be happy.
yeah.
but if your daughter died young and like your whole life is just like pain of missing your, I can
I think
understand where he
yeah.
falls into that.
I think I think the purpose, the subtext of True Detective is that the lost girls that they see on the billboards and things like that, that's his quest to find his lost daughter, or resurrect from death or from pain. I think that's kind of the meaning that he has. But he gets a kind of resolution by killing the bad guy at the very end. But he also says, "We didn't get them all." I actually just reposted that in when he's in the hospital thing. And this is just one example of these satanic groups and stuff like that.
Mind reading the rest of this article,
Yeah.
William?
So according to LaMonica, took place every 2 to 3 months. On other occasions, certain girls would be picked and have sexual relationships with. The guys would line up one by one. They would come and they would have sex with that girl. If there was a woman, they would have a homosexual relationship and oral sex, acting like one was a man and one was a woman. He claimed that there were feces laid around, there was urine, and he claimed that during these satanic rituals, he would become distorted by the devil and that demons would change him into an animal, a snake, a fox, wolf, spiders. And this is kind of consistent with other things I've said where there's this transformation, transmography, whatever, that like people are seeing distorted faces and things like that.
Doesn't that relate to the witch trials and all the witches? Like they would, you know, they're, you know, Lucifer would turn into a hare or something, or they would go turn into something else and like bewitch others as an animal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You want to check out, there's a book, The Witch Cult of Margaret Murray, right? The Witch Cult of Western Europe, which, and that is, she's going through a lot of the history of this stuff, and all these like original testimonies going back to the 1500s. And stuff. And there's animal masks in that movie Him, right? They're wearing these animal masks a lot. And at the final ceremony, which I just ruined the movie, but anyways, at the final ceremony, they're all wearing the masks, and you see the exact same masks. Picture of Anton LaVey with these pig masks, pig head masks, right? And so
it's a common theme too.
Yeah,
it's in True Detective too. If you remember, he gets shot. Velocro, whatever his name is, he gets shot at some recording room with soundproof things, and they have these animal masks on the walls. So I think this goes back to this whole Hosanna story. We'll get to, because we were just about to talk about that. His words are reminiscent of the notion of Courrier de Mardi Gras, central to True Detective's version of Satanism and the occult, explained by Cole as a very rural sense of Mardi Gras. You know, men on horses, animal masks, and such. In the show, that Cajun culture is twisted into the killer's satanic ritual of posing his victims with antlers. In the Hosanna church case, this translated into talk of animal masks, hoods, and gowns. So they had the whole thing going on. Each member of this group, this pedophile ring, had a nickname, so they had fake names. Trish Pearson was Bluey Black, after the colors on the spell book she carried. He called his own wife Robin the Lady because she was an organizer and made sure stuff goes right. Trey was the mastermind, and LaMonica himself was chief. LaMonica stated that the secret ceremonies had started in 1999 and carried on to 2003 when he and his wife separated and he moved out of the church building. Bernard's wife, Nicole, left Bernard and took their daughter with her to Ohio. 2 days before LaMonica walked into Major Carpenter's office, Nicole had telephoned Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff Daniel Edwards, the man initially tasked with investigating the crimes that had taken place in his jurisdiction, with similar allegations. The news quickly broke into the small, deeply religious stretch of Louisiana. The church had a strong legacy in the area. LaMonica's father, Louis LaMonica Sr., founded it and was a respected and much loved pastor. The church had thrived for more than 20 years. LaMonica's claim that the church had converted to Satanism in 2000 was profoundly, indescribably shocking. The building that had once been the heart of a community became a dark void at its center. It became a crime scene. Sheriff Edwards announced that there could be as many as 25 victims. Wow. A bond of trust had been irrevocably broken. Here, after all, was a ring, including not only a man of the cloth, but also of the man of the law, too. For Steve Brown, a former church member who testified at trial, it suddenly made sense of Sheriff Deputy Chris Labat's inaction when we with him with concern about claims Bernard had made to him. So, like, literally, it's like a movie. Like, the guy Steve Brown goes with Labat. He's like, "Why aren't you interested, Chris?" "Well, I'm in on it." Like, he's literally in on the satanic cult. He's been working with him. Can you believe that?
This is perfect. This is great evidence right here.
Bernard had this is not me. I'm not writing. This is from
that
Daily
lady.
We haven't got to the court case yet.
She looks like a demon, dude. I can't even stand looking at her picture. Look at her, man. Jesus.
Evil stepmom.
Bernard had confessed to abusing his child, according to Brown's testimony, but when he had told Labat, the deputy claimed he couldn't do anything without physical evidence. When Bernard shared a notebook in which he wrote of the abuse, Brown took the writing he described as stomach churning to Labat and was left wondering why nothing came of it. He's in the cult and he's covering it up, guys. This is like the whole thing about why these things go wrong. I bet this is extrapolated in other circumstances and situations where these guys are like, "Hey, here's the evidence. Hey, dumbass, I'm in on it. I've already made the freaking Luciferian initiation or whatever. This is so great. Story is so crazy when you really like get the details. It did not occur to him that the gun-toting lawman was himself one of the group, which Bernard later referred to as perverted musketeers. One for all and all for one. Wow.
It's like
One
the
by one.
Masons. It's like the
Yeah.
Freemasons.
Oh, yeah,
You
crazy.
know,
One by one, the church members named by LaMonica were rounded up and interrogated. Each interview, the claims became more shocking. Bestiality was added to the already sickening mix as Bernard and later LaMonica's own sons claimed that he had sex with the family's pet poodle. Austin Trey Bernard's interrogation, also seen by Mail Online, shows how deep the pull of religion is to this community. One of the detectives questioning Bernard was himself a pastor who paused the police interview to pray, "Father, I come to you in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I invited your spirit to be in this place. Oh God, I prayed before I came to this room tonight. I drove in that you would use me as your instrument. And through all these things, I would be able to arrive at the truth. Oh God, I pray for terror." Okay.
Can you show that picture? Can you go scroll up, William? Do you mind? This
Which
one. What
one?
is that right there? No, back.
Uh,
That, yeah.
This
with
one.
the
LaMonica
masks.
described as being distorted by a devil into the snake, fox, or wolf, reminiscent of the Courrier de Mardi Gras, a Cajun celebration of Fat Tuesday, where men on horses wear animal and other bizarre masks. If you remember, some of the pictures from True Detective are men on masks on the horse. So he's directly implicating these Mardi Gras. What the writer is direct. Nick Pizzolatto is directly implicating these Mardi Gras celebrations as part of the satanic rituals, which would make sense because that's kind of what Mardi Gras is before 40 days of Lent, right? And that's what people go to New Orleans and go to Louisiana for this Mardi Gras. That's like the big
right?
draw during the year.
Doesn't it happen on Imbolc, February 2nd or around that time?
Yes, it's around that time. I don't know exactly the date, but I think it's February. I think the date
Right.
is early March.
So
It's a
that's
long process.
right, and that Lent is like pasted over Catholicism, pasted over a pagan ritual,
The
and
Easter, right? So it's
well,
yeah,
that yeah,
totally.
Ishtar, right? Yeah, that whole the idea of sacrifice before Beltane, before like the coming year is like the season of sacrifice. Like the dark occult will um, soak the ground with blood to feed their rituals that are coming on Beltane and Valpurgisnacht. So it's like there's like a 40-day period before Valpurgisnacht, which is important for the dark occult. And I believe it starts like right after like 322 is the day where that starts. But Beltane is the beginning of the whole last season, the last quarter of the year before Beltane is the beginning of summer or whatever.
Prophet Google, I just got my my YouTube channels back. So I got them back in the beginning of October. I was actually shocked. So
But
I'm
you've
now
been
streaming
making, I'm
both of
sorry,
my I'm streaming to both my Google channels now.
but you've been making your work. You've been doing work this whole time. It's not like you
Oh yeah.
disappeared. Like people
No,
should look on the internet for William Ramsey
Yeah.
and find you.
you can find all my stuff. My audio is all on Spreaker. And then I had to just keep bouncing around to different sites to go to. You can go to Rockfin, you can go to Rumble. Those have my more recent stuff that I haven't been censored on yet.
I had a comment from a viewer, sort of maybe a little bit like what you got, Sean. It said, "Oh, Hans, you're going to need to start using your toes to count your views."
Oh man,
But
that's
no,
funny though. That was funny.
not really.
I got a pretty ruthless one.
I'm
but
angry. You did, but that's okay. You're just a millennial, man.
Yeah.
Well, we have 200 people
Yeah.
listening live right now. So thanks
Awesome.
everybody for listening.
Yeah.
Please share the show
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
like it. Please go to Wake the Dead, go to the Resonant State. I will put links to both of their shows. We do different things. They're not all consistent. So there's a lot of other additional stuff. If you're at work or on a long drive, check out Wake the Dead podcast or the Resonant State podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where society is groomed to be narcissistic, act like the gods, and eat their young. In some ways, it is. In some ways, look at the boomer mentality, man. They have a strange mentality.
Right.
For
And
me,
they believe it's their right to be able to kill their own children inside their bodies. You know, well, it's a right to kill others. Like they're entrained into this. And
They
now,
also
go ahead.
they're really like reviled by older generations because they had everything laid out on a platter for them, and then ours is like for scraps. We're all renters and leasers, and the food's expensive, but like they didn't provide that same thing for their children or their children's children, and they don't care. They don't give a fuck. They don't give.
Yeah.
They never talk about it.
Narcissistic is a good word. They were, only care about them. Do what they will to do what they will.
John Silver Sub. Hold on. Silver Sub says John Wedger. I've had him on my show. You can check that out. Jay is amazing, along with Nathan Reynolds. Going back to the start,
Yes,
Rigovich, welcome. Spotify's uncensored, yes.
Sorry, Nathan Reynolds talks about his family, and he's a member of the Reynolds cult. He was like ritually abused at like Havasu, where they've got the London Bridge and stuff. They do rituals there, and it's like a male abuser type situation. It goes very deep, but he was programmed to be a super soldier, and he would murder with knives. The type of shit that he was programmed with is incredible, and everybody should look up that gentleman as well as Jay Parker. And he's a fan of your work, William. I've spoken to him, and he's got your books, and he reads your stuff.
Good. You should send me an email. Lukewarm, thank you guys. First I've ever been able to catch. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Benjamin does beats. Hit that like for your boy, William Ramsey. Yes, please. Thank you. Rigovich, I think you were on one of my earlier streams. Highly recommend a book into her story and content at Pitbulls for the Lore. Ira Wolf Nothson. I've never heard that. Send me an email. I don't know who that is. John Bassett alone. Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras ends on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday.
Right.
Remember 9/11, my grandfather saying it's going to be another world war. You'll probably get drafted. The look of demonic happiness on his face was maximum creepy. Okay, that's right.
We'll just share that picture real quick of the Saturn eats us young, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, sure.
Goya. Oh man, that scared the hell out of my son. It was like we were watching something else, and they just showed that picture, and he's like traumatized now. I can't even mention it to him. He's like, I told him about how powerful art really can be, what it can do to us when we see it. Look at that. Oh
I got about 10 more minutes, guys. So we'll have to do a part two.
We didn't really get much into it. Yeah,
it's so disturbing. The kicker, like some of the stuff that's interesting, the cops are involved, and the guy's literally wondering why. He's figuring why he's not involved in this. That's the whole thing. It's like darkly funny. Like it suddenly makes sense of Chris Labatt's in action because Chris is doing this stuff. That's all. Like imagine it's like this. They should make a 6-part series on this. Like it's literally the cops are involved and the backdrop of Mardi Gras and stuff like that. Let me see if I can finish this. Oh God, there's so many.
It's a perfect example of how the cops are part of the network. The courts are part of it. They wear black robes, and there's 9 of them on purpose. Like it's the whole culture we're in is like controlled by them. And they have their minions in every PTA meeting and every file clerk at the Federal Bureau of, they got them everywhere. They got them in the hospitals we were talking about in the Manchurian Candidate episodes, that in the children's education, they've got them everywhere. And they, there are certain cults like the Finders that are just for trafficking children, and they, for international sale and trafficking of organs and children's bodies. So like this is, it's just it's not just a business. It's also got a philosophy underneath, which we've been talking about here, and they go hand in hand. The psychopathy and the business of the snuff films and the organ harvesting and all this stuff. They go hand in hand, and it's just like once we scratch the surface, we can see the reality, and if we can stomach it, we might recognize what's actually happening. Sorry.
This case is crazy, bro. It's just so crazy. Like I can't believe nobody really talks about this case, and because it's such an important influence on True Detective too. Like for me, True Detective is like a high watermark of like TV culture or something like that. At least for me, like there's so many great references. It starts out with like Rust Cole being interrogated, and he's like, occult ritual murder. one of the things that's interesting about the show when I watched it last is that I didn't understand that the two black guys are interrogating Cole because they think he's actually the perpetrator of the occult ritual murder. That's the whole twist. Because then they find him at these scenes, but in fact, he's actually really the true detective. And I think that's why it gets its title. Because the title's not really explained very well. But the true detective is him because it's his decades-long quest to find the perps. It's really something else. Especially like that's what I got my start is like looking into the occult too. So anyway,
Right.
I think I got to wrap it up, guys. Anything else you'd like to say before I go? I got about 5 minutes.
Just want to say that True Detective, like, it makes us the detective of truth. Like, it brings to light the truth for all of us to see. And, you know, it's housed in a fictional thing, but once you, like I said, scratch a little bit, and there's a nonfiction reality underlying it, and that's, you know, in my opinion, one of the reasons why it's so good, because it is bringing this information, this truth to us, who, you know, and those of us who value digging down into truth, those of us who are detectives are, you know, all the more wiser because of its existence.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it is a really interesting case because, I mean, and then you wonder how much of this is actually going on now that's not being caught, that's being covered up, that's there, you know what I mean? And this, you know what I mean? If you know, I don't know, if someone's going to cut, you know, reveal the thing, you just knock them off, right? And they just keep it going. I don't know. What do you think, William? You think there's things like that, like this? It's like I'm saying about institutionalized type of setups like this. You think they're
I think that
ongoing?
they're around. You know, they're there. I don't know how common they are. They're all kept secret, but they keep popping up, like the Huerman thing, or you know, you hear these other things like Reynolds people I don't know from different angles. I've heard different stories about the Duke family, Rockefellers. I know the Bushes for sure. So maybe it's just all behind the sign of silence, right? The doctrine of silence is all stuff. I mean, I've been going back through my West Memphis 3, and it kind of rhymes, is very similar to this, because one of the great mysteries of the West Memphis 3 is that there's collusion, there's coordination behind the scenes that you don't see. And that's what's happening in this with the cops. Like, why isn't Bill Belay or whatever his name, why isn't he helping out? Because the cop's in on it. And that's one of the mysteries about the West Memphis 3 is who's in on it, or who's also an occultist, or who's doing that. So I think that the reality of satanic ritual abuse and satanic networks is people are becoming more aware of them. They really do work. I mean, we talked about the beginning, the whole thing going down in Utah, and that's like a stone's throw from Best Friends, which is where the Process Church ended up. Like, who knows where anybody is? Rigovich, thanks for the donation. Really appreciate it. If you want to donate to these guys, do it. Go to Wake the Dead, Resonant State. We've done other shows, a 7-part series on Manchurian Candidate. Anyway, I got to run, guys. I know I'm going to be late. 200 live listeners. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Anything else you guys want to say before I wrap?
No,
Thank you
so
William.
much. I mean, I think that, you know, we uncover this, and I just, you know, just throw out that be careful about what you allow into your mind and take root in your mind, right? Try to have some discernment. Use your mind and your thoughts for your advantage, not for your disadvantage. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy to become very dark and negative. You know, don't do it if you can help it, because the end result, like all these people, they become, oh, let's do some satanic sacrifices. I'm gonna have. Does it ever? Who does it work out well for? Except for, you know, Peter Thiel and Bill Gates, maybe, but most people it doesn't, right?
Right.
You know,
The rest of us, we end up being Grok. We turn into Grok the clown, and we get broken legs and try to hobble our way through life. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, William. Just really appreciate this, and we look forward to
There has to be a
continuing
part
this.
2, guys. We got to do
Yeah,
part 2
we
at some
barely
point.
skipped
Yes, please. We would love that.
There's so much more information. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Sorry, I really have to go.
Okay.
All right.